Okay, so getting back into our coverage over Deadpool, we're going to cover a couple more issues in today's video. Now, with that being said, as we get into issue number 3, I do want to say that we do have a character guest starring in this issue, and that would be Siren. Now, remember, when it came to Deadpool and Siren, they have this weird, friendship with the idea the two characters fully understand one another. But at the same time, for Deadpool, we kind of get the idea that he does somewhat have a crush on Siren and wants to be with her. Matter of fact, in our last video, we had discovered that Homeboy is basically stalking her, which is pretty wild to say. But as we get into the opening pages for issue number 3, we're getting into the idea that Deadpool has lost his healing factor. And the reason why, because in our last issue, you had Deadpool go up against Taskmaster as a way to quote unquote save Weasel. Now, after doing that, when it comes to Deadpool, he's right now trying to regrow one of his lost fingers. The problem is that lost finger is not regrowing. And so for everybody in the Hell House right now, these other mercenaries who are making a bet right now how long it would take Deadpool to regain his lost finger, they all kind of realize that his healing factor is not working properly. And the question is now, why? Why in the world his finger will not regrow back? You have Deadpool receive a package. Now, with this package, he realized that it came from Black Tom. And the reason why, because inside the box, it's an actual glove. Now, for Deadpool, this right here is a callback to his second miniseries where you had his hand be cut off. And so with his hand getting cut off in that second miniseries, he kind of feels like this is Black Tom saying hey, if you want your hand back, come find me and take it from me. And so for Deadpool, he's kind of down with the idea of getting his hand back. Now you do have Deadpool go back home. Now when Deadpool does go back home, it's really more of him trying to find an item, but I kind of want to focus more on Blind Owl here, because for Blind Owl, even though she's technically Deadpool's prisoner, it's really also her trying to push Deadpool in the right direction. Hey, you should go and ask Siren to help you out, because if you're going to go after Black Tom, who is Siren's uncle, who basically also raised her as well, you should ask Siren for help. And she may have a jet or some kind of aircraft vehicle, whatever, that could possibly help you go to his location to find Black Tom. And for Deadpool, he doesn't want to, but it's really more Blind Owl trying to push Deadpool in that right direction. Dude, go get the girl. Go get her. And the thing is, for me personally, I kind of like this storyline because when it came to X-Force, we saw the idea of, Siren and also Deadpool kind of possibly being there for one another. At first, for me, it kind of felt like no. It was really more her putting him in that friend zone. But really, in this section right here, it really shows that no, she does have feelings for Deadpool. But let's not forget that for Siren over in X-Force Comics, even though she does show here she does have feelings for Deadpool, she also has feelings for Warpath, who's trying his best to move on from her onto another character who we're not going to talk about here at the moment. But anyways, for Deadpool and also Siren, to see the two characters right now being able to bounce off one another, but also kind of see they do have feelings for one another, is kind of nice. But you do have Siren kind of agree to go with Deadpool to go confront her uncle, Black Tom. Except when you have our two characters arrive at the location thinking that they'll find Black Tom, they don't find Black Tom. Instead, they find Dr. Killbrew. Now, for Dr. Killbrew, he was this character we had talked about in the past when it comes to our coverage over Deadpool, but he's one of the few characters who was responsible for the idea of turning Wade Wilson into, basically Deadpool. But here's the thing, because for Dr. Killbrew, it was him who had sent out that letter over to Deadpool. And matter of fact, he has sent out multiple letters to different locations, kind of wondering if one of those locations is where Deadpool could possibly be at, to just get the chance to get Deadpool over to him. Now, for Deadpool, he hates Dr. Killbrew because when it came to that Weapon X program with Killbrew, it was him who had tortured Deadpool for many, many years. And so for Deadpool, just seeing the guy, he gets the flashbacks to what happened to him back at Weapon X. Now, here's the thing, because for Dr. Killbrew, it's him now trying to be a better person, trying to actually help out Wade. He said, listen, Wade, I'm not here to torture you or do any more horrible things. I came here because I realized what's exactly happening to you. You're technically dying. Like, your healing factor is shutting down. And once that's shut down, that basically means your cancer is going to return as well. You are going to die. But as we enter the next chapter of the storyline, we're getting into the idea of Dr. Killbrew trying his best to figure out how to save the life of Deadpool. Because for Dr. Killbrew, he really does feel bad for what he did to Deadpool in the past by basically turning Wade Wilson into, well, Deadpool. And so when it comes to Dr. Killbrew, while looking over the cells of Deadpool, he realized that some of the cells of Deadpool is trying their best to reverse the effect of what's actually happening in Deadpool's body. But he realized those cells surviving because of gamma radiation. And he's kind of wondering like, hey, were you hit with a huge amount of, gamma radiation? And for Deadpool, he says, yeah, I was. And that's a callback to the first issue of this series. And so for Dr. Killbrew, what he wants to do is kind of like bathe Deadpool's cells in gamma radiation. But at the same time, they need a kind of a organic base to kind of help guide the gamma radiation into the cells of Deadpool's body, which means they need someone's blood who has been hit full on with gamma radiation. Now, he does have two options. There's a Hulk and also She-Hulk. But for the sake of this storyline, let's go ahead and have Deadpool fight against the Hulk. Now, while you do have all three characters on their way over to where the Hulk is at, where currently he's in Florida, you have Deadpool get freaked out because the idea of how Dr. Killbrew is talking to Deadpool. Because for Dr. Killbrew, what he wants to do is add these like sensors on his body to monitor his body while fighting against the Hulk. And so for Deadpool, the way you had Dr. Killbrew say like, hey, let me go ahead and put these on you, it freaked out Deadpool. And this gives us another moment where you really do have Siren be in his corner. The idea of these two characters possibly getting together and becoming a couple. But at the same time, she learns that for Deadpool, he really can't let go of the past. If he's going to try to, he has to go ahead and kill off the one person that constantly reminds him of the past. And that would be Dr. Killbrew. But for Siren, she hates the idea of Deadpool being this mercenary, going out of his way, killing people, and trying to tell him, like, do not become a killer. And so it does kind of lead into the battle between Deadpool versus the Hulk. Now, here's the thing, because we're not going to sit down and try to explain every single detail about this battle because there's not really much of her sit down to explain here. But it's the idea of Deadpool kind of realizing that for the Hulk, yes, he is a challenge, but not because of his strength, but also because of his healing factor. Hear me out here, because for Deadpool, what he wants to do is just get a blood sample. But every single time he tries to cut the Hulk heals up just like that. And so for Deadpool, he realized he has to stab the Hulk, but make sure the stab wound stays open long enough to allow a few good blood drips to fall out to get his blood sample. And so for Deadpool, he does find a way to stab the Hulk, but to also make sure that stab wound stays open long enough to allow some blood to drip out so that Deadpool is able to get his blood sample. And that's really it for the battle. And so even though you do have Dr. Killbrew being able to use that sample of the Hulk to really cure Deadpool's situation, you would think like, okay, cool, the story is done. It was a two-part story. No, because you didn't have Deadpool say like, hey, even though Dr. Killbrew did save my life here at the moment, this is still the guy who truly did mess up my life, which means he gotta go. And so for Siren and also Dr. Killbrew, they don't realize that for Deadpool, he's plotting to kill off the Doctor. And so as we enter the final chapter of the storyline, we're getting into the idea of the possibility of Deadpool being able to kill off Dr. Killbrew. Like, he willed the door shut to make sure that Siren would not be able to work her way into the room, which of course she's still going to because she has, great abilities. But also the fact like it's Deadpool right now truly believing that he has a shot in killing off the man who had made him the way he is today. To switch over to Hell House. Now remember, Hell House is where you have Deadpool, other mercenaries like Deadpool, being able to get their assignments from. Now, when it comes to Hell House, we're also being reintroduced to a character known as T-Ray, and man, that name freaking sucks. Now, when it comes to T-Ray, he's going to be like a very important villain for Deadpool for a good while in our coverage over the original Deadpool series, because when he walks in, he basically tells everyone, including Weasel, how much he truly does hate Deadpool a lot. But on top of that, he's right now trying his best to find Deadpool, to get revenge against Deadpool. Now, we're not going to learn why until like later on in our coverage over Deadpool's ongoing series here. But for T-Ray, he said, hey guys, listen, I don't even want to hear his name right now in this place. And so now we switch back over to Deadpool and also, well, Siren and Dr. Killbrew. Now for Siren, she was able to easily work her way into the office where Deadpool and Dr. Killbrew was at. But when it comes to Siren, it's her right now trying to convince Deadpool that what he is doing is completely wrong. Because even though he does kill off the guy, it's not going to make him feel better at all. And matter of fact, it's her saying like, even if you do kill off the man, you're still going to be hunted by your past. You're still going to be hunted by everything he did to you in the past. But it's also her trying her best to get him on the right path. Trying to slowly move him away from the idea of being a mercenary. Now, with all that being said, when it comes to Deadpool, he right now wants her to leave because he does not want her to see him as a killer, as a guy who's basically failing her. And so you really do have the book begin to wind down very quickly here, because as we do switch back over to Deadpool and also Siren, it's really more of her just being able to be in Deadpool's corner, to really be there for him and kind of change his mind, and really does try to put him on the right path. And so he does allow Killbrew to live. Now, after all of that happens, you didn't have the two being able to share a kiss with one another. So whereas it a whole lot of character development for Deadpool early on, the thing is, as some of the comics right now in the current day, I already know all of this is not going to work out some type of way. But either way, once you do have Deadpool being able to get a kiss from Siren, we switch back over to T-Ray. And for T-Ray, it's just really him just getting closer and closer of getting ready to go after Deadpool. Now, I'm going to end the video here, and we're going to have one more Deadpool video before we officially dive into Operation Zero Tolerance. And once again, that crossover right there, it's going to be a good while before we're able to properly sit back down again and cover some more Deadpool. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.